And it says that we are live. This is likely the preamble for the pre-record. So if you're on the replay crew or you're listening to this on the podcast platforms, good morning, everybody. Subscribe, share, the little bell icon, rate, leave a review, all that blah, 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 bull crap. It is the 30th of August, 2024, and we should be going live on YouTube momentarily because, you know, the preamble, the 30-second pre-start, because otherwise I could say things that people don't like. Good morning. Are you on the YouTubes? Can you hear my voice? Probably not. Josephus and Berkey, 5x5. Thank you. It's 30th of August, 2024. We're going to talk about semiconductors, national economic and international economic indicators, and then we're going to do the national intel as submitted by y'all to intel@bearindependent.com. Bear, I can't remember the email address to send the intel at. Intel@bearindependent.com. And if you can't spell Bear Independent, you can't provide intelligence to the Bear Nation. Okay. Good morning, JS Badger. Thank you very much for the link in the description. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Shall we do the brief? Yes, Bear. All right, cool. I don't know about y'all, but I'll tell you what, in my household, something's in the air. I don't think anybody slept last night. The dogs were trying to kill stuff, woof, 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 all night. I was out of my bed with a gun in my hand twice. The baby was a roly-poly monster who didn't sleep. And then, you know, somewhere prior to dawn, the sheep started going off saying, "Hey, we're hungry, feed us, master." And so here we are. I don't know, you know, have you ever seen a bird with 45 minutes of sleep? Well, today's your day. Okay. Bear Independent brief, 30 August 2024. Remember before 2020 when semiconductors wasn't a household term and chips referred to a snack? Put a couple inches on your waistline. Now in 2024, the semiconductor producing giant NVIDIA is impacting the market and investor decisions. Good morning, Dr. Trevor. Here's the crux of the issue. We're going to get here momentarily. I'm going to probably be a little extra neurodivergent today because, again, lack of sleep. That's okay. What's little sleep deprivation? It's not like you're going to be up for the next 3 days training people. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be great. NVIDIA has become such a giant in the marketplace due to the number of chips that they produce and the quality of chips that they produce specifically for that air quote AI revolution, that they are becoming a driving force in many markets and therefore many economies. So, according to Bloomberg, quote, the almost $3 trillion rally in NVIDIA Corp shares over the roughly last 2 years since ChatGPT's unveiling has virtually rewired the U.S. stock market, giving the artificial intelligence chip-making giant an outsized influence on a bevy of equity indexes, end quote. This is a bunch of, a lot of people are directly or indirectly invested in NVIDIA. So NVIDIA's performance is going to directly or indirectly affect a lot of people's pocketbooks. The influence this company now has in the market is notable. Investors this week braced for the quarterly earnings announcement from NVIDIA as a key indicator of broader tech and AI trade sustainability. Analysts at Deutsche Bank, or Deutsche Bank, as they like to say, said that the company's reports now rival the sort of moves taking place after a surprise U.S. jobs report or consumer prices index release, end quote. Or big information is the point. And that they've become, quote, one of the most important events on the macro calendar. People sitting around chewing their fingernails and twiddling their thumbs, waiting for NVIDIA's quarterly reports. Did we make money? Did we lose money? Am I going to buy a yacht or jump off a tall building? I don't recommend either, to be honest. For context, a weaker than expected labor market report from the United States triggered reactions throughout the global markets as well as stock markets in the U.S. Yeah, remember that 818,000 jobs that didn't exist that the Biden-Harris administration said, oh, they totally exist. And they did that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's an election cycle because it's always an election cycle in the United States of America. And they didn't want to look stupid, even though they're absolutely stupid. And they didn't want to have to admit that their economic policies suck, even though they absolutely suck. And then also number two, by propping up, artificially propping up the jobs reports that allowed the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates where they were, which means that even more power and wealth was extrapolated from the lower echelons of society to the higher echelons of society, which makes it easier to rule you because you can't revolt if you don't have any food in your belly and can't afford ammunition. Yeah, you know how it is. In the chat. What's your thoughts on the gang takeover in Aurora, Colorado? This is not a Q&A. So I see your question in all caps. We're not doing Q&A this morning. So just to temper everybody else's expectations. However, I will briefly comment on that. Colorado is reaping what they have sown. Colorado geographically is a beautiful piece of land. And if Colorado wasn't filled with Coloradans, I'd probably live there. But their laws are terrible. They're uber liberal, hippie bullshit, rosemary salve and all that crap. They are reaping what they have sown. I'm 0% surprised. 0% surprised that you defunded the police and outlawed standard capacity magazines and made it very difficult for your citizens who live there to earn a living and protect themselves. And now a bunch of literal thugs have taken over. Surprise, 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 surprise. Here in rural Oklahoma, those MS-13 and Trinidad and all these other gangs that are in Aurora, Colorado, they would have been shot in the face already. How do I know? Because that shit already happens here now. And you know what the sheriff says? Yep, that was a clean kill. All right. We're just going to dig a hole in the field, or do we need to get a body bag? So I'm not surprised. I would use this as a canary in a coal mine for all these other blue ass cities out there in the country who have defunded their police and have judicial employees who have been emplaced by George Soros and who have very liberal blue mayors and boards of directors and county commissioners. Yeah, this is just foreshadowing. This is just foreshadowing. However, let me throw some numbers at you, the potential ways to solve this problem. 9 by 19, 5.56 by 45, 762 by 39, 762 by 51, 12.7 by 99. Just some random numbers for you right here. Yeah, I'm 0% surprised. I'm not even sympathetic because there's not a single person in Aurora, Colorado that didn't see this coming, whether they were in agreement with it or not. And this gets back to all these people out there who are like, I'm never going to move. I'm never going to relocate. Yeah, never? That's interesting. Never. The house next door is on fire. You're surrounded by a wildfire and you're never bugging out. I disagree, sir or ma'am. Yes, you are. There are myriad factors that would cause one to move about the battle space, which is why you need to be prepared to move, because maybe Trinidad decides that today's the day that they're going to take over your town. Are we staying here or are we going? Well, it depends. How many of them are there? When there's 4, that's a problem we can deal with. When there's 40, we can still deal with that problem. That's a little bit more difficult. When there's 400 or 4,000, it's probably time to go. Probably time to go, which means don't let the enemy amass a critical mass of combatants in your AO in the first place, which is exactly what all these far left socialists and communists, the air quote Democrats, have been doing, is amassing critical amounts of enemies in everybody's backyard so that when they feel like it, they can flip the switch and usher in chaos. Forgive me if I have no sympathy for the locals in Aurora, Colorado, because they're a bunch of bleeding heart liberals. They knew exactly what they were doing, and you shall reap what you have sown. And they sowed this bullshit. So I'm not surprised, but everybody else should be learning from it. Jojo, last night's pelt was most excellent. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for supporting the show. Patreon.com. Link is in the description. Do-do-do-do, boo-doo-boo-doo. Just how are the global markets now? The head of asset allocation research at Goldman Sachs, Christian Mueller-Glissman, described the early August stock slump as a warning shot for global markets. He noted that it should be a cause of concern that there was a rapid rise in market confidence after a global sell-off of risky assets. Quote, the challenge you have now is that equities and risky assets completely reversed and are back to what they were before. What I find quite interesting is that the risk appetite is not back to where we were before. End quote. In other words, people don't have any money. And because they don't have any money, there's too much uncertainty in the marketplace. They're not investing in even high risk or moderate risk opportunities. Low risk opportunities is what they're investing in. For example, he went on to mention that safer assets like bonds and gold are not being sold off. Imagine that. Hey, what does money sound like? This is what money sounds like. That's what money sounds like. Okay. Just for everybody who's tracking. He went on to mention that safer assets like bonds and gold are not being sold off, indicating that investors are being more cautious in their choices. You think? Yeah. I don't understand sometimes why the financial markets and the financial market commentators are surprised at things like this. Maybe it's because it takes longer for economic distress to trickle up to their ivory towers. But I think anybody who buys groceries at Walmart can tell you things have been terrible since 2019 and they haven't gotten any better. And they're probably not going to get any better anytime soon, which is interesting because now for potential president of the United States, we have a Marxist whore, the whore of Babylon, actual. This is not slander. This is true. Kamala Harris. Her daddy was a Marxist and she documented, slept her way to the top, and she's documented a DEI hire because Biden said he would hire a woman of color for his vice presidency, regardless of whatever her capabilities or resume were. Enter Kamala Harris. And then Tim Walz, who is an actual intelligence operative at a minimum, compromised by the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, who's an actual communist and who has multiple businesses in China where your business must do business with and provide information to the Chinese Communist Party. And if these Chinese communists, Walz and Harris, get air quote elected in November, and we all know it's selected, but if they get elected in November, refer to my earlier statements about some random numbers. 556 by 45, 762 by 51, 127 by 99, whatever else you got. M118LR. Yeah, what's that? Mark 262, SS 109. It's on. It's on whether you want it to be or not. As evidenced by, I don't know, their proxy groups in Aurora, Colorado. Well, how could you say that those, Tren de Aragua and MS-13 are proxy groups of the Democratic Party? Who let them in here? Let them in here. Who was the border czar, by the way? Who is currently the border czar? 40 millimeter. I'm in, Tactus Squirrel. I'm in. Who's the border czar? Kamala Harris. Right. Elect me and I'll fix things. Bitch, you're in the current administration. Fix what? All the stuff you've already done? You're not going to do anything. So, in any event, the investors and those in the investor world are apparently just starting to figure out that the economy has been in the shitter for the last half a decade. Trey says 300 Win Mag. I like it. I also like 7mm Remington Magnum myself personally. It's just wonderful BC on that 7mm round. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, whether you feel like playing the numbers game or not, they will play the numbers game because that's what communists do. First, they take over the most populated areas so they can gain popular support for their initiatives so that they can move into the countryside and the industrial areas, the means of production, so they can attach to and then therefore control the means of production, whether that's agricultural or industrial or monetary. And then they co-opt all of that, and then the government will tell you how much cheese you're allowed to have this month. The government will tell you how much food you're allowed to have, how much, and then you get rationing, price controls. Kamala's already proposing price controls, and we all know it's not Kamala that's proposing it because she doesn't have 4 brain cells inside of her cranium. It's the same handlers who have been running the Biden presidency who are now telling her what she will do, what she will support, what she won't do, what she won't support. They're going to usher in actual communism here. And the issue with that is communism has documented killed 160 million of its own citizens in the last 100 years. And we all know that these crazy elites definitely think that we have a global population issue. See COVID-19 and Bill Gates and the Georgia Guidestones. Google accelerationism. Check that out. What is accelerationism? Okay. So, yeah, even if you're out in the country like I am, it's just a matter of time before it shows up on your doorstep. Why? Because we make more food than we produce here, and somebody has to provide resources to the built up areas, the same exact places I've been telling you all to move out of for the last 7 years. Back to the brief. This shift in sentiment combined with a lack of complacency indicates a kind of bracing attitude from investors as bullishness fades, an indicator to keep an eye on. And then a very interesting article that's linked in the brief written up on Patreon is from CNBC. Headline, increased sausage demand could be a worrying signal on the economy. Here's an indicator. An uptick in sausage demand can offer the latest sign of consumers tightening their belts as they continue grappling with higher prices. There's been modest growth in the dinner sausage category for one producer, I guess that's brats, according to the Dallas Federal Reserve's Texas Manufacturing Outlook survey released Monday. This underscores the trends of shoppers opting for cheaper products and pulling back spending altogether. As cumulative inflation bites into purchasing power. This category tends to grow when the economy weakens, the respondents said, according to edited comments included in Dallas Fed's report. That is because, quote, sausage is a good protein substitute for higher priced proteins and can stretch consumers' food budgets. It goes on from there, blah, blah, blah. The point is, the economic gurus are literally looking at how much sausage are people buying because they tie the purchase of sausage to the weakening of the US dollar and the economy. And sausage consumption is up because people can't afford food. Exactly, Dana. But sausage is not food. LOL. Exactly. Because people can't afford food. Guys, I do pretty well for myself because the Father has blessed me immensely, the work of my hands, and I am a classically diagnosed workaholic by 3 different brain docs. One of the things I like to treat myself to is I go to Browsy Acres, Travis and Rhonda, and they have awesome products, including bone-in Wagyu ribeyes. And I have on occasion got myself a box full of bone-in Wagyu ribeyes, and they're fabulous. And I was looking at one the other day, and for 7 pounds of meat in their box, it was $475. And I don't begrudge them that one bit. But I am not in a position to spend $475 on 7 pounds of meat. It might have been 9 pounds. Do not let me or misquote here. And again, I have nothing against them. I sell high-end products myself. I just can't. I just can't. Because if you've been to the grocery store lately, $475 is maybe a cart full of groceries now. Maybe. And I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. Maybe Trump gets elected. Maybe we have Civil War 2.0 in this country. Maybe it's going to be important for you to have some food put back and a means of production for food if/when things get stupid around here in the Estados Unidos. Like, I don't know, Tren de Aragua takes over your city, or the grid goes down, or pick a thing. Civil unrest, Antifa, BLM. Antifa's website, again, if you go to www.antifa.com, again, is redirecting to the Harris campaign. So it's clear who they support and who they're being supported by. We've discussed Act Blue here previously and the money laundering schemes, of the Democratic National Committee, and your taxpayer dollars being sent halfway around the world so they can be washed through Ukraine, turn around and get returned to the DNC through Act Blue. All this stuff it's just falling apart. We are an end stage empire, and I don't want the United States of America to die and go away. But the indicators are there. And I don't want to die and go away with it. My identity is not wrapped up in my nationality. My identity is all the way wrapped up in being a son of the Most High and having to steward the blessings that He's given me, predominantly people that belong to Him, that I have the blessing of stewarding for however long the Father sees fit to let me steward them. Wife, children, congregation, friends, homies, neighbors, community. That's my job. That's where my identity is. I live in the United States of America. And on the one hand, I'm very proud of the United States of America. And on the other hand, I'm disgusted by it. And I don't have that all figured out. But I do know this: if the system fails, I do not intend to fail with it. And gosh dang, the indicator lights are all lit up. Every light on the dashboard is on and blinking furiously in this country. And I think most people, especially the normies, are just, they're not even immune to it. They're willfully ignorant of it. It's the kind of thing they'd scroll right past on Instagram because they don't want to think about it. Well, the more you don't think about it, the more likely you are to fall apart when the nation falls apart, and the less likely you are to do something about it now. And that's a major part of the problem. We have some national intel to look at as well. Also, interesting headline going back to this, ties in economically as well. From Fortune, Lowe's followed Tractor Supply, Harley Davidson, and John Deere in backing off of DEI initiatives. And this was also linked in the written brief by the Dance Monkeys. Why would companies like Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Harley Davidson, and John Deere back off of DEI initiatives? Well, first of all, John Deere, just so we're all clear, can burn in hell for all I care. Their equipment is subpar, and the idea that you have to only service John Deere equipment at an exorbitantly expensive price through the John Deere dealer and service networks, right to repair, big deal. So John Deere sucks, and they've sucked for a long time for all the reasons. But why would these companies be abandoning DEI? Because it's expensive to implement, and the populace, your customer base, doesn't actually agree with it. And it creates a massive amount of, in business, what's called operational drag. And so from an economic standpoint, not a social standpoint, but from an economic standpoint, it's an indicator, because they can't afford to engage in these shenanigans anymore. They can't afford the operational drag of having to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we've all known forever and a day was a bunch of bullshit. And if you need proof of that, Kamala Harris is her name. That's what you get when you have DEI hires. You get Kamala Harris is the air quotes second most powerful person on the planet right now. And the first most powerful, air quote, literally shits his pants and has dementia and doesn't know what room he's in right now, because we all know they're just puppets. Who's actually pulling the strings? Soros, World Economic Forum, the Rothschilds, all these other morons. I wrecked a John Deere once. That was fun, says Bjarg. Yeah. Their heavy equipment is subpar. I know that. It's subpar. Not good. But I'll tell you what is good. Let's do a little segue. Pay a couple of bills. refugemedical.com. We make real stuff that you could totally, you have the right to repair your Refuge medical equipment if it needs repair. But better yet, you could just send it to us and we'll fix it at no cost to you, or replace it at no cost to you, because we unequivocally guarantee our products forever. How long is forever? Like forever. Like if you give, your son your Bearfac, and then he gives it to his son, and your grandson's rocking a Bearfac 3.0 that he got in 2024, 30 years from now, and there's an issue with it, you send it back to us and we will replace it. No questions asked. Okay. And so right now at Refuge Medical, some things to make you aware of. Number one, on this channel, if you're a mama bear or a grandma bear and you're not entirely sure what kit you should be getting, please go watch the live stream that I did Sunday morning. Kits for mama bears and grandma bears. And we actually, it's about an hour long live stream. The first 37 minutes of which was teaching. It's not buy this kit that here's what you need to buy, grandma. It's here's why. Here's how you use this stuff. Now you can make an informed decision. Okay. Um, Jeannie Greer, this grandma bear is ordering an adventure kit 3.0. Bless you, Jeannie. I appreciate that. Very informative. I loved it. Thank you. Okay. Um, Also, make sure you are following, you're subscribed to the Refuge Medical YouTube channel and on socials because our ladies over at Refuge are going to be doing a lot more teaching and instructing, talking specifically to that subset of the population. Okay. And 50%, 51% of the world is female. And so our females on our staff are going to be talking specifically to y'all about what you need, why you need it, how to carry it, how to apply it, how to use it, et cetera, et cetera. We have coming up December 8th and 9th. Our September classes are sold out. Praise the Most High. December 8th and December 9th, we have more classes coming up. I strongly encourage you to come to class. You can do it. I don't know who you are, but you can do it. We've had people as young as 12 years old complete this class. We've had people as old as 84 take the class. If you're a 27-year-old PT stud, we will absolutely match the class to your physicality. If you're 65 with a hip replacement, we will absolutely match the class to your physicality. But this, the 8th and the 9th, these are both one-day classes. One is on December 8th. The second is on December 9th. And in the morning, we're going to do our typical morning portion, which is about 4.5 hours of lecture and practical application. And then in the afternoon, we get into scenario-based training, which is going to be forced on force, simulated motor vehicle accidents, active shooter, et cetera, and making you use the kits with reps and sets under stress so that you can actually perform if/when you need this stuff. And part of this, again, I would encourage you to come to class, even if, well, I'm not as fit as I used to be, or I've got some medical issues or whatever. You will be at 100% of your emergencies. I won't be there. And the likelihood that public safety is going to be there, EMS, law enforcement, fire is low. And they may get to you at some point, but the average EMS response time in this nation is 47 minutes. 47 minutes is an eternity. A lot of things can go bad in 47 minutes. And so you will be there with whatever horsepower you can bring to the situation. So you need to know what to do and you need to know how you respond under stress. And that's the point of these classes, to make you get the reps and sets under stress so that you know how you function under stress. So check that out, refugemedical.com. Click the training tab. Classes December 8th and 9th. They will sell out. I strongly encourage you to come to class. Next. Big stretch. I know times are tough. That's why at Refuge, we have these things called BPKs, bleeding prevention kits. These start at $62. These are vacuum sealed kits. They've got all Committee on TCCC recommended components in here, aka the good stuff for those that don't know what those acronyms mean. Real medical components, real Cat Gen 7 tourniquets and chest seals and pressure bandages and wound packing gauze, everything you need. Okay, start at $62. And on the bleeding prevention kit tab, underneath, there's a little selector, a little drop down menu. You can add a Barefac outer pouch. The outer pouch for $39. Okay. So I take 39 and 62 and smash them together for what? $101. I have a bleeding prevention kit. I have a blowout kit in an American made guaranteed pouch forever. Here's your $100 blowout kit. Okay. Molly compatible, PALS webbing, yada, yada, yada. Made in America. Phenomenal pouch. And so you might consider that, especially today being Friday. The store closes at sundown, but it's payday for a lot of people. Everything in the store is HSA and FSA eligible. If you have any questions about anything we produce, please, you can email us admin@refugemedical.com. You can call the store. The phone numbers just scroll to the bottom of go to refugemedical.com, scroll to the bottom. Phone numbers right there. Call us. Real human beings will answer. Or hit us on the chat on the website. Real human beings will answer you on the website. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it might even be me on the other side of the customer service chat, as evidenced by this most recent chat. Gentleman we were talking back and forth. He pitched an idea and he said, it would be a cool idea. Maybe Bear would be cool with that. And I texted him back. I said, who do you think has been texting you, bro? To which he responded, oh, shit. And there's a screenshot of me texting with this guy. Okay. So, real human beings, we're there to help you, whatever questions you might have, whether you're in seventh group or dev group or drive a minivan or a school bus or a forklift or a whatever questions you have, if we can help you with it, we will. Use that chat function on the website. Okay? Okay, Bear. Awesome. Now, bonus intel as remitted to me, the Dance Monkeys, actually. What's up, Intel team? Love the Dance Monkeys. They're amazing. Our Intel team, intel@bearindependent.com is where you send this stuff. This all comes from y'all. These are all quotes. I'm not going to say quote over and over again. Sound good? Sounds good, Bear. All right, cool. My local Rapidan Service Authority in Virginia has put out an emergency stop water use for about 5,000 houses. We were told to not even boil the water. We were being kept in the dark about what type of contaminant was found. There was no sign of this problem yesterday. It was very sudden. I just got back from our local Walmart and the drink aisle was rapidly emptying out. I've never been so happy to have a well, unlike many of my neighbors. It seems our electrical grid is not the only thing that can be gone instantly. 100%. Water is very, very, very important. If you don't know how much water to store, this channel, Bear Independent, go to the playlist tab and click the Prepper Classroom. There's 28 videos there, whiteboard classroom style. Everything's broken down Barney style, very basic, including math about how much you actually need, how to store it, etc., etc., etc. But water is something that most preppers sleep on. I have a water filter. I can find it somewhere. Can you? You can have a hard time finding it in August in Oklahoma. I can tell you that. So all that to say, you need to have water preps because water preps can go away about that fast. Romans 12:18. Why don't you put the TQ around the visor? Yep, I have in my trucks. I have tourniquets on my visors, one on each sun visor in the truck, so I can get to them if I need them right now. And use the orange ones because if you need them out of your truck, you can say to a bystander, "Hey, go get the orange thing off of my visor." You don't have to say, "Go get me the Cat Gen 7 windlass tourniquet off of my visor," because most people don't know what that is. You just say, "Hey, go get the orange thing off of my visor." Cool. Next. Wayne, Fort Gay, West Virginia. 20 August 24 at about 0950. It's not unusual to see fighter jets flying low and in formation out here in the sticks near where we live. What I saw the other day, though, was unusual. Normally, the jets are flying tight together with no visible ordnance. This time, the two jets had several missiles each and were flying staggered out and far apart. I didn't think it was worth writing about, but hearing all the intel from today's brief, 23 August 24, about military aircraft and odd maneuvering, I thought it would be a good data point to write in. Seems to me the flyboys are starting to practice like they will play and are getting ready for what is coming. Yep. Next, Virginia Beach skies are busy. Navy jets all over. Next, just an economic data point. My employer started giving COLA, or cost of living allowance, in lieu of scheduled pay increases last fall. This is added to the base rate per hour. It is adjusted quarterly based on the Consumer Price Index. Starting in September, it will be up to 66 cents per hour. So the economy is getting better. It takes 66 cents more per hour, about 115 per month, to maintain the same standard of living as it did 1 year ago. Grid security. A substation in my area has installed what appears to be concrete barrier walls around the transformers within the perimeter of the facility so they are no longer visible. Yep. So concrete security walls to limit line of sight so that things can't be shot from the outside on the inside of the substation, but also specifically with concrete because there's lots of different ways to handle that problem. Concrete is also a physical barrier. And so for the ability to take like a heavy truck or a piece of heavy equipment and crash the substation, concrete also limits that ability, which is good. I'll tell you what, HESCO is missing a phenomenal marketing opportunity here. HESCO barriers. There should be HESCO barriers around every substation in the country. Yeah. Way easier, faster to deploy than concrete, movable if at some point the threat diminishes, reconfigurable, et cetera, et cetera. You know what? Somebody on my team, get a hold of HESCO. We're starting a new business. Gridsecure.com. East Central Minnesota, in less than 2 weeks, we've had 2 power outages. One did happen during a thunderstorm, average outage time of 5 hours. One outage was directly blamed on failing power equipment burning out. Next, I'd appreciate it if my name was anonymous on the live stream. I fear losing my job if it comes back to me. No problem, Jim Smith, you got it. Recent flood in the great state of New Jersey stand. Sunday, 18 August, we received an emergency alert of flashing flood in our area. I had to leave town for a work assignment out of state. Loaded my vehicle in a downpour. It was horrible. It took a lot longer than usual. Even in my rain jacket, my clothes were drenched. I had a spare pair of clothing as usual. This was a wake-up call to me and reminded me that, 1, I need to practice and train to load my vehicle during downpours since we were in a flood-prone area. Yes. What do they say? If it ain't raining, we ain't training. A lot of people avoid the rain. Like, it's wet outside. I don't want to go train. I don't want to whatever. And Pastor Joe talks about this. Your skin's waterproof. You're going to make it. It'll be okay. And it's just a different animal in the rain. Being wet is just a different animal. And you should all the way train for that because, guys, if things get stupid out there, like full-blown stupid, you're going to need the ability to operate, whatever operate means to you, when you're wet. It's as simple as that. And your stuff needs, whatever your stuff is, needs to be able to survive getting wet over and over and over and over again. 2, I need to wear my waterproof jacket, not my water-resistant jacket. 3, we can get evacuation orders faster than I can snap my fingers together. 4, don't get comfortable. Always improve your preparations. 5, the flooding gave me and my life partner a vibe check. Is your gas tank full? They were full. Sometimes it's hard to stick to this way of life, especially after a long day of work. I just want to get home and go to sleep, but an extra 5 to 10 minutes of fueling up can mean the difference between life and death here. The drive out of town, there was flooding everywhere. It hasn't even been 20 minutes of downpour. Even so, some areas had 4 to 8 inches plus of flooding. Luckily, I have a high clearance vehicle. I saw a few cars that had flooded engines. I pray that they get to where they needed to go safely. Many one-car preventable accidents, flipped over cars in ditches, ripped off bumpers, guide rails with suspiciously new piles of plastic remnants and car front end parts, and one car at an exit guide rail out of commission. One car was totaled on the side of the road, hood smashed in, airbags deployed, glass everywhere, the whole 9. It was chaos and pandemonium. Horns honking was the new rock and roll song of the day. Dude, New Jersey is a massively high population density area. There were sirens in every direction. EMS can be seen everywhere responding to an unprecedented volume of calls. They were clearly overwhelmed. Reserves and volunteers were deployed. They were doing traffic control at a few key intersections. Many roads were closed and yellow taped off. I had to take 6 detours before getting onto 95. The concept of getting onto 95. actually like gives me heart palpitations at this point. What, from Maine to the Florida Keys, I-95? There were a lot of desperate people approaching cars asking for help, suspicious characters looking in the shadows, etc. There were many people disobeying traffic laws, more than usual. People driving through red lights, cutting through oncoming traffic, going down one-way streets the wrong way. You can feel tension and impatience in the air. A lot of honking, obviously, and lots of inconsiderate drivers. It took a quarter tank of gas and 10 times longer to get to the highway. Another reminder from the father how important fuel is. And by the way, if you have trucks, and I know like trucks are less common on the East Coast and in the built up areas, but if you have trucks, one of the things that I do is I keep enough fuel in cans or in transfer tanks on my truck to refill my gas tank or my diesel tank, whatever I may be driving that day, at least once for that reason. And I would recommend keeping fuel, spare fuel, organic to the vehicle for that very reason. Oh, it only takes 6 minutes to get to the highway. Under normal conditions, it might take you an hour or two. You might burn way more fuel than you thought you were going to, just trying to bug out from a bad situation. I continued on my journey and eventually stopped to take a pit stop at a rest stop. The parking lot was nearly full. I had no intention of going inside to use the facilities. I stood in my vehicle and used my luxurious McFancy flushing camping toilet. That thing has come in handy more times than I can count. I had some beef patties for dinner, headed out. I got to my destination safely and without incident. Of course, I topped off my tank. Yay for that. Meat price increases in my area. Speaking of beef patties, me and my life partner go shopping pretty regularly for meat. We notice prices increasing in our area. Big shocker, I know, right? We will be picking up another freezer or two off of Facebook one of these days. We've been making our own jerky and experimented with ribeye jerky just like the Lord intended it. Now we started experimenting with making our own salt-cured meat. Our first one is 10 days and drying beautifully. This could be another option to have during those very predictable power outages that seem to be getting. One time it was a fish that got dropped on a transformer by a bird in our area. The other time it was a squirrel. Last time it was just a lot of people using the AC at one time. I've had to use our icy breeze 3 times in our home so far. It's tremendous. Intel on military base aircraft activity abnormalities. I work with a regional company and deliver air quote food to many different companies and states, among which we have contracted with military bases, National Guard bases, Naval Air Force bases, etc. In the past few weeks, when delivering to those bases, I've noticed a lot of unusual air traffic. I've seen carrier helicopters, jets, and even something that looked like an Osprey and other various aircraft in the area. The areas are Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Delaware bases. On Friday, on my way back home, the cell service cut out on and off for a couple of hours for no apparent reason. Luckily, I have my Garmin truck GPS that I was using. This is not the first time this has happened. Supply chain intel. Speaking of work, we are facing a myriad of challenges in our supply chain, at least in my area. For starters, we don't have enough hand trucks to go around, and it can take weeks to get one. Same goes for our pallet jacks. We have random failures that are critical that can take weeks to have someone come out and repair. Things are falling apart quite literally. Additionally, we are in low supply of drivers and general labor in the warehouse. We are stretched thin and work long hours. We are one or two quitting people away from being screwed. The turnover rate isn't great now, and we're always looking for work. On top of that, many of our orders don't get shipped due to shortages. All of our customers complain every time something is missing. It used to be once in a while, but now it's every day with one customer. Something is always missing. We just have to tell them, sorry, the warehouse didn't have it. The common food items that are typically missing is seed oils, coffee, grains, and some occasional candy. What used to never happen is now becoming a little more common. It used to be unheard of in this company, but I've seen a few deliveries where half of the things are just not there because it's out of stock. Our dispatch and management is basically non-existent because they are on the road covering routes we can't get drivers for. We deliver to major stores and restaurants as well as small businesses, so to me this is a bit concerning. Coupled with the fact that at least 3 times I've been shopping for meat, they've been out of stock of the meat we usually get. We found another option, but that may soon go away as well. It's very concerning to me. All these indicators are not looking good. All it takes is one truck failure, one pallet jack down, or even a hand truck short, and we can't deliver food. Oh, and not to mention the July 19 Windows crash. We were hit hard here. We used tech to make everything smart around here. No one had their routes. Our logs were shut down. We couldn't do anything. All we had was paperwork. A lot of loads and shipments got messed up that day. Our entire communication system is based off of and managed by that tech. Good times. Very comprehensive report. Thank you. If you have intel you would like to share with the Bear Nation, intel at bearindependent.com. That will get it in the hands of the dance monkeys. They will aggregate it, put it into a brief, send it to me, and we will read it live right here. What's up, Radium Group? Four-wheel drive low is an excellent gear for when you need it, but if you need it for 20 to 30 minutes, you probably should already be refueling. Yep. Four-wheel low. And it depends on the VIC. My 3500, GMC 3500, the four-wheel drive low is so low. It's awesome. It's incredibly aggressive four-wheel drive. But you ain't going anywhere fast in that sucker. And it's a heavy truck. So what are we four-wheel driving through? If it's wet, sloppy mud, that truck ain't going through there, even if there's a 12,000-pound winch on the bumper. But if it's overland, rock dirt up the side of a mountain, it'll absolutely go. What else we got to talk about? So Grindstone Ministries, we do have some Bibles back in stock. Very, very cool. The printer who prints the scriptures is doing their next print in December. And so in the meantime, we ran out, they ran out, which is an amazing problem to have. We've given away so many Bibles that they can't keep up. Praise the Most High. But what's even cooler is that several of y'all out there in the Bear Nation now have had spare copies of the scriptures that you sent to us to be able to give away to other people. And so if one of those people is you, if you need a copy of the scriptures, you can go to grindstoneministries.com and pick up a copy. While you're there, or if you already have a copy of the scriptures, but you want to deploy with us to do tornado and hurricane relief, disaster relief with Grindstone Ministries, sign up there. Sign up for the email blast. Shoot us an email. Introduce yourself. If you'd like to come and, do debris hauling and run chainsaws or heavy equipment or demo houses or feed people who have lost everything or work at the fob or pray with people, just help. You want to come be the hands and feet of the Most High, get a hold of us through grindstoneministries.com. And if that's the kind of work that you would like to support, please consider recurring donations at grindstoneministries.com. That helps us forecast what money we're going to have to work with so that we can maintain a state of readiness to be able to deploy at a moment's notice after hurricanes and tornadoes, which we've done 44 or 45 times now. I honestly am losing track of how many times Grindstone has deployed. The recurring donations help us significantly because it helps maintain the war chest so that I don't have to get on here and beg for money so we can go be the hands and feet of the Most High. And I'll tell you this too, Grindstone is a very compelling cause to support. But I think a lot of people then hear me talk about Caleb House and see it as a zero-sum game. Do we want to support, the recovery of tornado victims, or do we want to support the rescue and restoration of juvenile human trafficking survivors? They're both very important. They're both loving your neighbor as yourself. They're both forsaking not the widow and the orphan. And being perfectly frank, the more Caleb House stuff we do, the less well-funded Grindstone is. And so I would just ask you to prayerfully consider Grindstone, because we also all the way do Grindstone stuff. Like whenever the Father asks us to go, we go. And yeah, we need a war chest in order to be able to do that. And so if the Spirit convicts you, please consider recurring donations at Grindstone Ministries. And if it does not, that's okay. Now, Caleb House, Caleb with a K, calebhouse.org. Okay. Caleb House is our counter-trafficking ministry. counter trafficking, because most people are anti-human trafficking. Yes. Should people be trafficked? No. Okay. So that's anti trafficking. Counter trafficking is doing something about it. We have field teams, we have victim service teams, we have white collar professionals, medical professionals, trauma therapists. We have victim services teams, we have legal teams, we have safe sites currently, we have security teams. We are building the restoration facility right now. The barn dough is about 6 weeks out from completion, like move-in ready in about 6 weeks. The care house one is under construction right now. It's about 6 weeks out from being done. And then we're probably going to stick frame the next care house just for reasons. There's an existing house there that doesn't need to be there. So we're going to demo it and use the existing foundation, stick frame on top of it. And then we're also working on the layout and the planning for the administration building. And the admin building it's going to be $1 million just to get the admin building dried in. That's not finished on the inside, fixtures, furniture, utilities, any of that, just to get it dried in. And why do we have to have an admin building? In order to comply with state and federal regulations. Because if we don't, I don't really want DHS, CPS, Attorney General's office all the way up my ass. We don't take any money from them, but they do still have jurisdiction and oversight over human trafficking. And so compliance is a thing. I'm very non-compliant, in case you haven't figured this out. I don't really like the government telling me what I can and can't do, but I'm not going to lose or risk the opportunity to lose the ability to help these kiddos because some bureaucrat with a clipboard says, well, you don't have the appropriate, there's no housing for your on-site director here, thus admin building. So you're inoperable. You can't operate this facility. And so with Caleb House, not only do we have all these teams out in the field making bad stuff happen to bad people, we also have more teams on the backside restoring widows and orphans, restoring these people who have been trafficked so we can put them back together again, meet their mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, educational, financial needs, so that this terrible thing that has happened to them becomes part of their witness and their testimony. It doesn't remain a stumbling block. We have to put these people back together again so we can break generational curses. So sooner or later, we're not having to deal with this problem anymore. And so if you'd like to come volunteer, and there is absolutely a vetting process to come volunteer with Caleb House, we have caught 4 pedophiles wanting to come volunteer with us. 4. You will be vetted. It's a process. Don't expect to send an email today and be on site tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. Also, we don't work on Shabbat. And so just so everybody's clear on that, we don't work on Shabbat. It's as simple as that. So if that's a deal breaker for you, apologies, but we don't work on Shabbat. If Elon Musk came to Caleb House and said, I would like to give you $1 billion for anti-human trafficking, will you accept this check on Saturday? The answer is no. Okay. Because we serve Elohim, and 6 days you shall labor, the 7th is a Sabbath of rest. I will take that $1 billion check from you if you still want to give it to me on Sunday. Thank you very much. Okay, so we don't work on Shabbat because this whole thing is rooted in the Father's word, and I'm a biblical literalist. I'm also an ordained pastor, and I take the Bible very seriously. But all that being said, if you would like to come volunteer with us and you're willing to go through the vetting process, because there is one, you can contact us through calebhouse.org. And also, please prayerfully consider recurring donations there, because, again, that helps us to forecast what our cash flow is going to be so that we can stay active in building this restoration facility and stay active in the field rescuing and restoring juvenile human trafficking survivors. Because nothing sucks more than you have a thing that you've got to do and you don't have the means to do it with. And we are 100% in everything we do supported by y'all. I appreciate you guys and girls very much. Thank you for your support. And of course, remember, Refuge Medical, your promo code for Bear Nation, your promo code for free shipping is Bear Nation. Everything in the store is HSA, FSA eligible. If you have any questions, just get a hold of us. Email us, call us, use the chat function on the website. We'll answer whatever questions that you've got. Okay. And if you're on Patreon, in the description where you found this video this morning, there's a promo code for a percentage off for you. So if you're going to purchase from Refuge Medical, be sure to use that promo code. All right. All right. Shall we pray? Yes, we shall. Immediately after we take this brief and we throw it in the trash. Oh, good morning, Father Yah. Father, we have so many brothers and sisters who are going through stuff right now. So first and foremost, we lift them up and lay them at your feet and ask that you would please minister to them. Father, give them the strength and the endurance they need to remain faithful and joyful in these times of trial and tribulation. Father, I pray that for all of us, you would keep us mindful and bring into remembrance all of our myriad blessings, all the little things that we take for granted. Father, let not the little things rob us of our joy. Father, please just let us stay rooted in you and recognize just how good you are and how much you love us and how fiercely you pursue us and how you rejoice at the opportunities to intercede and come and do battle on our behalf against the things that would try and come against us. Thank you for inexplicably loving us. Thank you for redeeming us by the blood of the Lamb, that we would have a way, the only way to come home again. Thank you for being a good father and giving good gifts to your children, and for stewarding us through this life, even when it doesn't make sense to us, because your ways are not our ways. Your ways are higher than our ways. Father, that you would just always have our best intentions at heart, even if we don't understand it. So, Father, please give us patience and discernment in the times when we know you're working, but we don't understand how or why, that we would remain trusting of you and your guiding hand. Father, please pour out your Spirit on all flesh to guide us, to teach us how to walk, to bring your word into remembrance, that we might say what we need to say wherever you need us to say it, and do whatever we need to do for you and for your glory wherever you need us to do it. Father, that we would fear nothing but you. Father, please give us strength and power and authority in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach to be your hands and feet, to forsake not the widow and the orphan, to pull donkeys out of ditches, to heal the sick, to minister to the poor and the needy, to be a light into the world. Father, if there's anything within the sound of my voice that is not of you, we come together in agreement and rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to destroy itself. Father, put a hedge around your people and let no weapon formed against us prosper. Give us peace, shalom, that surpasses all understanding. Continue to teach us how to be good children, good followers of Messiah. Let us not fall into the trappings of doctrines and dogmas of false teachings and lawlessness and the influence of the enemy, but to desperately seek after the hem of Messiah. Father Yah, please make your face to shine upon these people today. Father, please give them provision, protection, and blessing. Please bless this day of prep and our day of rest when we come into union with you again. I ask these things in Yeshua's name. Amen. Y'all have a fabulous day. I will see you when I see you. Shalom.